Assembly Bill 1884, the Straws Upon Request legislation, is a positive effort to reduce unnecessary plastic waste. This presentation will provide a summary of Assembly Bill 1884, also known as AB 1884, prepared by Alberto Espinoza, Tom Lambertson, and Gianfranco Lori for MPA 570 Public Policy Analysis for Dr. Beth Groves at California Baptist University. This presentation will go into some of the problems of plastic straw pollution, background and history on AB 1884, the stakeholders involved in the effort to get the bill approved, the evaluation of the outcomes of AB 1884, and the next steps for the state of California as a leader of reducing plastic pollution. The issue is plastics are durable, which makes degradation a long process. Plastic is produced from petroleum, which can lead to adverse environmental impacts. Plastics don't break down for hundreds of years. So if you look at the picture at the bottom left corner, you can see plastic straws take about 200 years to degrade. There's also other images of other plastic products that are found in our oceans, and those also are very impactful to our ecosystems and our sea animals. Animals ingest plastic debris and can become entangled in them, which can lead to their death. If you recall, a couple years ago, you probably remember a YouTube video of a turtle with a straw stuck in its nose, and there was a person trying to take it out. So again, all these plastics create a waste in our oceans, causing environmental problems, also hurting our sea animals and the ecosystems, as well as it's a costly impact to clean our beaches and our oceans of all these plastic issues. So what AB 1884 is trying to do is, reduce the production and the use of the single-use plastic straw, and in the hopes of reducing some of this marine pollution. And AB 1884 is also encouraging, you could even say nudging, consumer behavior changes in order to begin eliminating the use of plastic straws. AB 1884 was first introduced on January 17, 2018 in the California legislature by Assembly member Ian Calderon, who was a Democrat and the majority party leader out of Whittier. It was signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown on September 20th, 2018. It did go through an 8-month process, seeing many committees, including the Assembly Natural Resources, the Assembly Appropriations, the Floor Analysis, the Senate Environmental Quality, the Senate Floor Analysis, and then the vote of the Assembly Floor Analysis. Throughout the AB 1884 process, it was stated the bill was designed to encourage a change in consumer behavior and limit the use of single-use plastic straws to those who need them. A little history about the penalties of AB 1884. During one of its first amendments, the bill was changed because the policy at that time would have imposed some strict fines of $1,000 in fines and potentially up to 6 months in jail time, I'm assuming for some of the business owners or managers of restaurants. After some changes throughout the process, the final penalties for AB 1884 include a violation fee of $25 a day with a maximum of $300 penalty per year for the restaurants. So again, this a little background of AB 1884 does not have much teeth in it, but it does persuade to change the consumer behavior by putting some restrictions on restaurants. Throughout the 8-month process, there were key stakeholders identified who had a vested interest in AB 1884. 3 groups from the very beginning were the Sierra Club of California, the Plastic Pollution Coalition, and the Californians Against Waste, who had a major support for this bill, as well as county and local level agencies and other organizations. At the Assembly Committee bill on April 20th, there were 35 support groups identified at that committee. On June 18th, at the Senate Committee of Environmental Quality, 12 new support groups were identified at that. And then finally, at the Senate Rules Committee on August 8th, 2018, a total of 52 support groups were identified, again, between agencies and private and nonprofit organizations. Some groups who did watch the bill closely but didn't have any major opposition were the Plastic Industry Association, the California Chamber of Commerce, the International Bottled Water Association, and the California Restaurant Associations. Now, these groups typically would have been more involved and opposed a measure of this, but they did back off because it did provide customers with the option to request straws. Another group that felt a little isolated at first, but was anyone with disabilities, part of the ADA group. But again, because AB 1884 did have that flexibility for people to request straws upon request, someone from the ADA community didn't have much opposition. The other group, of course, is the Democratic and Republican Party, which in California, the Democratic Party does have a bigger majority. So when the bill did reach the Senate floor on August 20th, there were 26 Democrats and one Republican who voted yes on the bill, and there were 12 Republicans who voted no on the bill. 3 days later, when it did go to the assembly floor, there were 48 Democrats and 2 Republicans who voted yes on the bill, and 22 Republicans and 3 Democrats who voted no. So it's kind of interesting how there were still, again, between party lines, there were still a few that voted yes or no that were of the opposite parties who we would have thought would have voted yes or no's. And again, the general public, the people, really didn't have a direct ability to vote on the bill. However, through the democratic process, we did put these individuals, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, in power to make this vote on our behalf. So those are some of the key stakeholders that are involved in AB 1884.
AB 1884 involved multiple model analysis before becoming legislation. Our group determined the rational model, incremental model, and group theory model were used during the policymaking process. Of the three, I would like to highlight rational model. AB 1884 used the rational model to examine social preferences, policy alternatives, consequences, benefit, and cost to decide the most efficient public policy. As mentioned before, single-use plastic straws are detrimental to the ecosystem. AB 1884 will make individuals request for plastic straws, but in the process, think twice and ultimately forego the request. Policy alternatives for AB 1884, as you see shown, are paper straws, bamboo straws, or no straws. Although these plastic straws alternatives have consequences with business owners and disabled people. Business owners will have concerns relating to the supply and demand of, say, paper straws. Equally, disabled people consider plastic straw alternatives to be rather costly and unattainable. Prohibiting full-service restaurants from distributing plastic straws rather than a complete ban or enforcing plastic straw alternatives, benefits exceed the cost. Policy evaluation assesses the program's effectiveness and studies its consequences. AB 1884 is a new policy, so data like public opinion surveys and before and after studies were not accessible. So instead, I will discuss AB 1884, current policy limitations, compare legislation to other states, and talk about society's behavior after enactment. Currently, AB 1884 prohibits single-use plastic straws at dine-in restaurants, while it exempts fast food restaurants. Why is that? When fast food restaurants are considered the largest consumer of plastic straws. Investigation shows that fast food restaurants can limit plastic straws to consumer upon request. For example, the City of Los Angeles approved a local ordinance that mandates drive-through restaurants with 26 employees or more to withhold disposable plastic straws. This showed there is room for AB 1884 to expand its policies. AB 1884 has caught the interest of other states. Oregon signed Senate Bill 90 that bans distribution of single-use plastic straws unless upon request. SB 90 has a lot of similarities with regulations of AB 1884. Exemptions, enforcement officers, and violation fines are almost exact. Even the legislative votes, which the Democratic Party favored much of the bill. The enactment of AB 1884, society is becoming more self-conscious about plastic products harming our environment. AB 1884 has sparked the interest of two major fast food chains, such as Starbucks and McDonald's. Starbucks has recently implemented their nitro lid for their cold brews, and McDonald's will begin to slowly replace plastic straws with disposable paper straws. These two gigantic fast food chains will set the stage for other fast food businesses to follow. California leads the nation in being environmentally conscious to the state and the world for a cleaner place to live. AB 1884 has generated positive externality for the environment and to the California coastline. With previous legislation such as Senate Bill 270 that assigns single-use carry-out bags and Senate Bill 1383 to decrease black carbon from climate pollutants and methane emissions, California is labeled as a loving place to settle. Therefore, the state will continue to write legislation and execute policies even if a few people are impacted. Many individuals, influential groups, and policymakers will continue to preserve this state, let alone this world, as God intended it to be. The responsibility falls on us, humanity, to keep this planet sustainable. I would like to conclude this presentation with a quote from the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, that says, "Then God said, let us make human beings in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds in the air, the tame animals, all the wild animals, and the creatures that crawl on the earth." Thank you.